I mean, obviously, you know, we've got a lot more to offer than just
Asam pedas.
We don't feel like tourists.
Yang tak ada just Olympic je.
Not like macam chill.
Apparently, they're really great there. Hello everybody, welcome back to a very special episode of Beyond the Headlines. My name is Amalina Kamal.
And I'm Hazwin Hassan.
Yes, and today we are going to celebrate Hari Raya, a festive period celebrated and observed by many Malaysians and Muslims at that. But I don't know about you, Hazwin. For some reason, my ketupat cravings have already kicked in.
Ketupat cravings. I think it's more like rendang rumbles for me today. But hold your horses, Amalina, because we've got a show to host before we can dive into those delicious delights that we're talking about here.
Yeah. But before that, I also want you to spill the beans to me at least. What do you look most forward to, especially during this festive period? Is it the food? Is it the people? Or is it this fancy baju kurung that I see you're wearing?
I seem to be blending in with a couch at least.
I'm blending in with a prop.
With this particular choice of outfit. But for me, it definitely has to be food. Food is number one, always. But yeah, I mean, I guess my baju kurung game today is pretty on point. What about you? What gets you in the Raya mood?
Before that, I mean, your baju kurung is apparently the colour theme for this year. I think it's
nice
coral or something like that. Fun fact for our audience back at home.
Right,
But anyway, for me, it's the spirit of togetherness, because I feel that Raya is not just for, those who are actually celebrating it. I think it's for family and friends to come together, which is why we are here today.
Absolutely, though I must admit that during Raya, navigating those Raya traffic jams, that can test even the strongest bonds when you have to sit with the same people, your family members, for at least 7-8 hours
Are we there yet?
on the highway. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and ain't that the truth? But I believe that's part of the adventure, though. I mean, some people at least have a kampong to go back to. I don't. I'm having my Raya here in Petaling Jaya, unfortunately.
You and I, same. I'm probably going to end up spending my Raya in the city.
But anyway, we're not here alone now, are we, Hazwin?
No, we're not. So our guests today, you might have very well come across them before. They've amassed quite a following on Instagram and are known for their culinary adventures here, having travelled throughout Malaysia and Southeast Asia. I think it's safe to say that they take their food quite seriously and have quite exquisite taste. So before we introduce you to them, here's a clip that made some rounds recently. Let's see it.
You know you spend way too much time in Malaysia when you have all this beautiful buildings, beautiful food in Italy. All you want is a roti canai.
And here they are. Please welcome Patrick Nelligan. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Patrick, yeah.
Patrick Nelligan and Julia Flores of Veggies on Tour. It's great to have you both here. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Thank you, guys.
Great.
Thank you. Great to be here.
And look at you, just looking lovely in your baju Melayu
you guys
and baju
are
kurung.
matching.
Yeah, exactly.
You got the
Matching
colour right
outfits.
This is new. This one's from last year, so maybe we'll get a matching one this year.
Yeah, I need a
But
coral
still.
one now.
Yeah.
But at least you guys are on theme this year.
Yeah.
The colour, right?
Yeah.
So Don in Malay we call it.
Done.
So you have quite a love affair with roti canai, it seems, right? I mean, who doesn't like roti canai? It is, after all, best bread in the world. If I recall correctly, there's quite a number of posts and reels that you've dedicated to just roti canai, but it really is great to see. So Pat and Julia, tell us what inspired your epic journey here in Malaysia. What made you come back? Because I know this is not your first time here. So what made you come back and stay here, apart from the obvious roti canai, of course?
Well, actually, it's quite funny. Well, we actually first came here at the end of 2019, just amazed by the views of the buildings, everything of Kuala Lumpur. And we were like, that is going to be our first stop of Southeast Asia. And it was. And we loved the time in Malaysia. But we returned at the end of our travels, just before we were going home, essentially, or we were going on to Australia in 2020. And obviously, that's the fateful year. Everything started to close down.
Right.
So we got stuck in Kuala Lumpur. All the flights stopped. Everything suddenly cancelled. All the flights stopped, and we were locked down in Malaysia.
For 7 months.
The start of MCO, the start of everything, and it was a tough period for a lot of people. But for us, it was amazing. We were stuck in Kuala Lumpur, having, you know, access to all this amazing food. You know, we were eating roti canai nearly every day for crying out loud. You know, it was
very much on lockdown. Yeah.
It was. People say to us like it was a tough time, and I think, yeah, actually, we had a really, really amazing time because, you know, we were in this beautiful condo in Kuala Lumpur, and you know, we had access to all this food, and we made so many friends, and through that. We always wanted to return to Malaysia, but we left in July 2020, and obviously lockdown is still going on, and we couldn't get back in next year because of the lockdown. So we were so in love with roti canai that we actually travelled to southern Thailand.
From Bangkok.
To have that.
Roti canai. So it was the only country that would allow us in. And we were like, we flew to Bangkok. We took an 18-hour train just to go to the border of Malaysia because obviously we couldn't get in. But at the border, you get roti canai. And we were trying to get rid of our craving for roti canai, so we ate roti canai for 24 hours straight. Like, in fact, longer than that, because we ate
from
breakfast, lunch, and dinner,
and then
breakfast the next day.
Right.
The kind of idea being is, if you eat it so much, you won't crave it for a long time.
I think I've come across your videos. I think went on my FYP. The craving with roti canai is not even other roti, right? Not even roti planta, not even roti ni, but it's actual
actual roti canai.
Yeah, roti canai. I mean, roti cheese is also very nice. Roti keju. We've also had roti bomb. We've had all of the other rotis.
Very much,
roti tissue,
but I think roti canai is
roti ghee is an interesting one as well. Butter.
The canai tops the list for you.
Yeah. Roti kasong is the
original,
But then there's also the debate of the mamak versus the Malay style of roti canai, which we've had with both, and and we've had a little bit of a debate about that, haven't we? We tend to tend to either side with the mamak or the Malay style. There's a very good Malay store in Ipoh. It's just fantastic for roti canai, but I think we could talk all day about roti canai. Clearly, sorry.
Right. So, I mean, obviously, you know, we've got a lot more to offer than just roti canai. We'll get into that in just a little bit, but just so. When you came here, were you expecting to start putting out the videos of your travels and giving us all these fabulous food reviews? How did you start with your account that you have now, the Instagram that you have now, Veggies on Tour?
Veggies on Tour. So Veggies on Tour, actually, it's funny because the name, it all kind of just started just during lockdown. We actually never intended to be, content creators or anything like that. Never wanted to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, or anything like that. It was actually... it's
probably not a name we would pick.
No, we probably wouldn't pick the name thinking back now, but it's kind of stuck with it. We actually did some videos and we got fairly well known at the time because we were one of the only tourists here during the whole of MCO. Right. And it was obviously when we did some videos and then when we left, we had a lot of Malaysians writing to us like, when are you coming back? You know. And we did some travels around afterwards. As I said, we went to southern Thailand when we couldn't get back into Malaysia. And we did some vlogging. And the thing was, it didn't feel like the same, you know. If you go to other Southeast Asian nations, there's always something missing that Malaysia had that other nations didn't have.
Right.
And I always felt that with Thailand, and I think a big part of it is the people of Malaysia. There's just something about Malaysian people that makes it so special, and you never have to feel like an outsider necessarily.
Was it the language though, or is it just the warmth of the people?
So the language, the warmth of people entirely. I mean, there's so many amazing Malaysian customs and that you could kind of get into, but the warmth of people, and people are so smiley. I mean, my parents were just here and they were absolutely amazed at how friendly everyone was. The first text my dad said was, "Wow, people here are so nice." You know, it's. It really
very
is.
Welcoming,
it's the food and the people that make Malaysia such a special place. Agree?
Seems to be, I mean, we get a lot of people who come here for the first time, and I know personally who don't ever want to leave, only just because of the food. I mean, the food is obviously a big part, but I mean, it's great to know that this is what keeps people coming back to us and enjoying our culture.
Yeah, I mean, food is one thing as well, but we also do a lot of good like fusion stuff as well. I'm not too sure, like maybe Julia, because there's a lot of Italian restaurants here, but
there's a few.
Like, are there any that is like close to home though? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you're from Sardinia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. I don't believe there's any Sardinia ones in KL, but there's a few, like if you want to, have traditional pizza and like dishes like that, you can obviously find it in KL. There's a few businesses run by Italians.
Bottega and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and Mona Lisa.
we tend to go to Mona Lisa, which is one in Mont Chiara, which is run by a Napolitan owner, which is so it's very good for pizza and.
Italians
And then
are
Bottega.
very specific about their food.
Right,
Almost a bit
right.
like the Malaysians. It is like
there is
Yeah,
we have a special bond with our food as well.
Raya
So
and
I think I can connect on the level with Malaysia.
Do you
because
miss home at all? Do you miss your Italian, cuisine back
when
home?
we were in Malaysia, to be honest with you, I don't miss it that much. Like if I do miss some Italian food, I can cook it at home or something. But I'm quite happy like eating Malaysian on a daily and then hearing some Italian here and there for special occasions. I'm quite used to the Malaysian diet at this time.
Are you? Have you adjusted your when you cook? Do you now follow more of how we would prepare, say, spaghetti bolognese? Have you adjusted some recipes to suit to now more your Malaysian accustomed taste?
Okay. No, I mean generally, if I'm cooking Italian dishes, I am quite traditional. I think most Italian people are like you stick to a few ingredients.
Yeah.
But there's been a few occasions where we were traveling and we didn't have access to the traditional Italian ingredients. So
But sample.
we actually found some sambo, which was just like a chili paste. So it wasn't Belgian, but it had like chili paste, garlic. And we ended up using it in pasta, and it ended up being pretty good.
Wow, okay.
So we quite enjoyed that.
Malaysian.
I'm not sure whether Italians back home.
Italians is a crime.
You're
Don't
not
tell
you're
Italian
not
people.
but you got to survive somewhere, right? You gotta
That's probably a bit questionable as an Italian person.
But I think Malaysia is fantastic because of the diversity of food, right? It is the diversity that really makes it. Where can you get world class Malay food? Where can you get world class Indian food? Where can you get world class Chinese food? And then you've got the other cultures that play into it, Nigeri Sembilan, the Minang Kebab, the Indonesian that kind of falls into it. So many cultures.
And the fusions are
And the
they
food is
said.
just like you can never get bored. If you go to Thailand, you get a little bit bored if you don't want to eat Thai food all the time, and other nations have that problem. Malaysia doesn't have that issue.
I've actually seen a restaurant here. There was a fusion Italian-Japanese. We haven't tried it yet, but it's quite interesting. There is a lot of different combinations in KL that you can
Japanese,
find.
yeah, interesting.
Japanese,
Both are pretty noodle based. A lot of noodles, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting
crossover.
to go and see how they integrate. But
we are a foodie nation of sorts, but because going back to the name of your handle, Veggies on Tour, how hard was it to find vegetarian dishes or veggie based products for you to kind of like savor?
I think Malaysia is actually quite good for vegetarian food. I think one of the easiest angle is obviously Indian. There's a lot of vegetarian food. There's a big vegetarian culture within the Indian community. There's also Chinese. So you've got the kind of chap fan vegetarian places, nasi campur places are very popular. But then also the one that can be a little bit trickier is Malay food. But if you know Malay food well enough, then there's absolutely plenty of vegetarian options. If you're looking at gulai nangka, gulai pucuk ubi, even eat dishes like roti jala and whatnot. Lemang and there's all sorts of kuah kacang. I mean, there's loads of different things that you can kind of fumble around and make a really nice dish.
Have you tried the ulam?
Nasi ulam.
Yes.
Oh, that is nasi ulam is one of my absolute favourites actually.
I really like nasi ulam. It's not that common though to find.
Right.
But
it's not that common. It's actually quite hard to find.
We've had it only a few times here and there.
We've also had nasi karabu as well in Kelantan.
Nasi
But
karabu.
we simply said, "Oh, can we have it vegetarian?" I said, "Yeah, okay, you won't have it. You can. That's fine." And it was very nice.
Right.
I couldn't go wrong with it.
But that means that you didn't have it with the budu though.
No, didn't have the
No.
voodoo, unfortunately.
That's a miss.
I know.
That's
it's
a big miss.
colossal
That's like the
thing.
umami of Malaysia.
So, you've travelled throughout the country. Have you been to Sabah, Sarawak, to the other
We have.
side as well? So, if you had to rank the food, can you tell us which one is number one? Best dish and best state so far?
Best state.
Probably not going to be
So
an
we've
easy
actually
decision to make. But
That's
yeah.
really
We've
hard,
actually
actually.
been to every state
We've been to every state.
now.
We've been to every state, and there are some particular foodie states.
Right.
I would say Sarawak is a very good state for food. I mean, actually, that's
Sarawak
very
is
hard
quite
to answer.
good because of the
I think-
noodles. I think we had a
Mm.
lot of very good noodles in Sarawak, more than in any other state. What about mainland Malaysia, though? What would you say?
It's too difficult. I think I could name probably a dish from every state, but I mean,
It's quite impressive. Yeah.
Okay, if it's hard for you to just single out one, probably yes, the best dish for a state.
I would say one of my favourites is probably nasi ulam. I think it's a very nice dish, and there's a lot of ways that it can be done. There's so much that goes into it, and it's really tasteful, like full of flavour rice.
Texture, flavor.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's like a pack of.
It is. I like that.
Surprises
I mean, I think my all-time favourite is probably something like gulai nangka. It is like, and obviously roti canai. But we eat a lot of nasi campur. We eat a lot of banana leaf.
We actually had really good curries in Alor Star, remember?
Alor
They
Star.
cooked us a special
Yeah.
vegetarian curry. It wasn't a vegetarian
They
restaurant.
did the tumis,
Sambal tumis?
something like that. Yeah,
Right.
I forget the
Okay.
name.
What
It's one
about
more.
spicy food? Like, have you tried asam pedas and all that?
So asam pedas is fish, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's one we
So
haven't
not so
tried.
much.
But they have variations of it though.
Oh,
I'm
do
not.
they?
Yeah, I mean, you can cook it yourself.
I think
like,
if you go to Malacca, you find where it's known for there.
Mm-hmm.
You can find actually some vegetarian options.
For us,
Yeah.
God, Malacca really is known for asam pedas. Have
Yeah.
you been to that area? Asam pedas.
Kota
And
Laksamana.
every
Kota
shop is
Laksamana,
asam
yeah.
pedas. Yeah,
It is very known
Every
for
corner.
asam pedas.
oh,
Yeah.
you guys have been around
Yeah,
then.
yeah,
like,
yeah, we
you know.
know
Yeah.
it.
Oh.
Malacca is a bit of a foodie.
It is.
city. It's quite
You've
good
got
for
things
it.
like putu piring, nyonya laksa. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Because
nice.
of the Nyonya, the Peranakan
It
influence
is.
there.
It is the
yeah.
Peranakan state.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
What's some of the wildest or weirdest dishes that you've had so far?
Okay. I've got to probably say ambuyat is probably one of the weirdest ones in Sabah.
Ambuyat.
Ambuyat.
Definitely.
That's-
Tempoyak.
So
Okay,
ambuyat
tempoyak.
is the palm.
Yeah. Sorry, ambuyat.
It's made of like kind of palm.
Ambuyat.
Flowery.
Sorry, I thought it was tempoyak. Ambuyat.
Ambuyat.
I haven't even
Do you
had
know
that.
it?
I've heard of it.
It's basically the ambuyat, and the story behind ambuyat was essentially during the war, the Japanese they couldn't cultivate rice, so what they had to do was make
Right.
this kind of rice soup liquid, and that's what it is. It's this really sticky substance.
That's what I saw. Oh,
Yeah, have you seen it? And you use
it's
sticks
like-
and you
then
wrap
they-
it round, and then you have it with
dip
tu
into
hao or
Yeah, the
you
sambal.
know, the kind of tu hao is the Sabah ginger.
So it's like the vessel that
You
you
have it with sambal,
and
yeah.
then
Yeah,
you
it's
just
like
dip
Yeah,
it
it's,
into
it serves as
Replacement.
rice, and that's
Right.
really weird. If you see it, it's a really sticky texture. It's
Right.
Very
um,
elastic.
Makes sense,
yeah. It extends very fast.
I got to say, I've
quite
never had
strange.
that.
Yeah, I've never had that too, but I've seen it. I've seen it, not thanks to social media, of course, but yeah.
have you been to Sabah? Or
I have,
Sabah?
I have
Yeah.
been
You have.
Sabah, but
Not seen it. Yeah.
I'd say that when I was there, I probably had more Filipino dishes
Yeah.
than
There is-
actual like traditional Sabahan.
Sabah's the really interesting place. Kota Kinabalu actually, every state feels like Malaysia, but Kota Kinabalu actually felt a little bit further from Malaysia.
Different,
It felt a little bit different, didn't it?
So we actually found it quite difficult for vegetarians. It wasn't that Malaysian in that sense. With Malaysian, we never had problems, but with Sabah, we did have a bit of
that-
issues.
that's
It's
what-
Malaysian food, then it's a little bit more diverse than what you're used to in the peninsula side. Yeah.
That's what you might be onto then, you know, the Filipino
Yeah.
influence
Right.
and stuff like that comes into it. So it's a little bit more meat and fish heavy, which makes it trickier for
True.
us. There's less Indian and
Yeah,
and
not so
maybe,
much of
Yeah,
it, yeah.
So it makes it a little bit tricky. You can't just have a banana leaf for lunch, you know.
I also want to understand, when you document all your, food travels, how do you get people to engage with you? Because sometimes, I know you say that Malaysians are very, warm and welcome, but some, they are very, to themselves. Like, how do you approach this particular scenario? Especially for them to explain to you what the dishes are, at least what the culture behind the dish is.
What would you
I
say?
think we have to go back in time a bit and think.
I think the truth is getting people to interact. I think it's like, you know, kalau boleh cakap bahasa Melayu, and you know, people
Through the
open
Warm
up a little bit. They
Right.
warm up, especially the way you get to interact with people, and that is that the answer is in the kampungs. You know, going out into the kampungs and meeting the real people that experience real life on a daily basis. It's the people that are out there working every day, you know, in the kampungs that see real life. You know, you only get to see a little bit of a fraction of life when you're hanging around with the kind of the rich, you know, because they are, you know, up in their two condos, you know. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think the best interactions and the best way of engaging with people is speaking to the real, you know, going out into the kampungs and speaking to local people, because they're really lovely people, you know.
And when you learn the language, the local language, right? Like, do you learn it as you go and when you speak, or you actually go back and like do like the Duolingo? You know, you've got all this app now.
Yeah.
Or is it because of?
I think we did start with Duolingo.
We did
And,
start with Duolingo, yeah.
You know, see this on podcasts.
Yeah, we did an app
Language
called Pimsleur
podcast.
as well, which worked really well. But I think
I think it's mostly practice, yeah.
I
But
think
in Malaysia it's quite difficult because everyone wants to speak English all the time.
Right.
So sometimes they just switch to English or we try to talk.
No.
Malaysians are
Our
so
coping
good at
mechanism.
English that
Yeah.
everyone just you don't even have to speak Malayu here. You know, you don't speak Malayu.
In
just
fact, the first 7 months we were here during lockdown, we didn't even learn anything. We started learning after when we wanted to come
it's
back.
quite funny because when we do go out into the campaigns, and sometimes you do have to speak, you know, a bit of the local lingo. People can tell that there's an interesting story behind how we learnt Bahasa. We actually learnt Bahasa Indonesia because there's more courses online, but also because when you go to Indonesia, you have to speak Indonesian.
Yes.
If you do not, you
can't
can't go
interact.
anywhere.
Yeah,
you can't interact with anyone.
anyone.
You always can't get in a taxi.
I
because-
suppose some Malaysians would see, if you speak Malay language in Indonesian slang, it's like bahasa baku. It's like the past, like bahasa lepas, because
like the
they,
formal.
the more
Yeah.
formal ones. But I'm interested to know, when you say you go to the kampungs and everything, is there one particular memory which kampung you went to and then that you want to share with our audience at least, that changed you as travelers, I suppose?
There is a couple. There's a couple. We've been to some really far out places in Perak. We've been to I think most towns in Perak, whether that be Telekintan, whether that be Kuala Kangsar, whether that be Papan, whether that be Gopeng, you know.
But even towards Johor,
Kangkor,
we've been to a few.
We've been to Batu
little
Pahat and stuff
towns
like that, Yongpeng.
Yongpeng.
I think one of the real kampungs that stood out to me was one in Terengganu. It was Pulau Duyong. Is it Pulau Duyong?
Yeah,
Pulau
Pulau
Duyong, yes.
Duyong.
Pulau
People were
Duyong.
so friendly.
People were so friendly, you know.
Right.
You know, it just, you know, people would just come out of their houses and speak to you, and you know, try and invite you in. You know, it's like.
Did you manage to play like the gasing, like the top, you know,
spinning-
top,
the
the top,
spinning
yeah.
top.
Apparently they're really great there. And in Pulau
Really?
Duyong, there's one master top craftsman. If
Yeah.
you go back there
I
again,
mean, they have like competitions.
Oh,
Correct,
really?
yeah.
I
that
didn't,
sort
I
of thing,
didn't,
yeah.
I didn't
didn't
see
see
that.
it.
I saw the boats. They're famous for shipbuilding, aren't they?
That's
yeah,
true.
they build them.
Mm.
But that's also a dying craft. But another
It
in
is,
terms of the
yeah.
activity, yes, the top. They actually have competitions there.
I think, yeah, Pulau Duyong. But I think one thing that changed my life in Malaysia was definitely the Terengganu State Museum. And now no one ever speaks about that in, you know, the tourism board. You know, it is not that talked about. We weren't vocalised
It's so
to go.
grand. It's like one of the most beautiful buildings we've seen.
Right.
It's all traditional. It's all like a traditional Malay style of building, but it's huge.
Yeah,
have you been?
It's
I've
actually
seen,
not-
I've seen it
not-
through your videos actually.
See, this is what I mean. People,
I don't travel that much, unfortunately.
I
but
think
yeah,
even the
wish
video doesn't really do it justice though. It's just incredible.
You know, that's the thing. I mean, it's all about, you know, how we look at heritage, right? Because
Right.
more often than not, especially when we try to preserve our heritage, it almost seems like it's being gentrified. And then we hear stories such as, like, you know, you went to the Terengganu State Museum and you found like this sort of like unique element to it. Then we're like, hey, there's a story behind it. Then it piques our interest to actually go and visit. So I mean, kudos to storytellers like you, because you actually did. I mean, I watched that
for
video.
people like me, really.
I didn't also know that there was like a museum.
I think we were really surprised people don't talk about it.
I think what it is don't be fooled by the idea of museum. This is what happens. I tell people the museum, and they're like, you know, museum, and you know. The thing is, it's the architecture.
Yeah, it's
involved.
not even the museum
It's so
itself.
grand. There's water all around it. There's huge steps up to it, and it's this huge. It's just phenomenal. And when I come in the airport from Kuala Lumpur Airport, when we come in, they say visit Terengganu, and then they have the boats, and but there is no state museum on the poster. I think you're missing out here. You know. That went viral, that video. That was one of our first viral videos, and that went. I think over 1.5 million views or something. Saw that in the space of a couple of weeks, and I think Malaysians were quite surprised that and people admitted, oh, we've never been there either, actually.
Right.
You'll get that a lot, definitely. Just want to talk a little bit about Raya, since
Cool.
this is what this show is all about today. What are your plans for Raya? How are you going to spend Raya?
Have you already been invited to any open houses?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, we actually did Raya here last year, actually.
Yeah.
We went to an amazing open house last year.
We went to two. last year.
We went to two, did we? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we did, and that was incredible. We did a lot of open houses last year. We also met Dato Seri Anwar last year at Chinese New Year Open House. Open House is one of the most amazing things Malaysia's got.
The big ones, yep.
You know, but during Hari Raya, it's a fantastic period. But this year we're not actually in Malaysia for the big day. But
we'll be back.
But we'll be back for the open houses, especially the the government ones and stuff like that. We really enjoy them.
Yeah.
Well, Raya is a month, so
Do you know
you have a whole month.
Do you know there's no other country that does these kind of open houses? You think the English government feed its people during Christmas? You know, they tell you to sling your hook, you know. It is amazing what they do here.
Yeah. And now everyone gets integrated into it.
It's I think with all societies, but it's more intensified here, as in like our society centers itself around food. Like everything is centered around food. So I think that's what makes it really great.
Okay, Pat, Julia, since you're here and this is an opportunity for you to speak to our audience, any message that you want to share to them today?
What can I say? Selamat Hari Raya semua. I hope everyone has an amazing Raya and keep being Malaysia. We absolutely love it. And us tourists and everyone that comes back, we can't stop coming back to Malaysia, you know. We love it. And I think just keep being yourself.
You guys are more than just tourists now. You're like more Malaysians than many of us, I suppose.
Certainly better travel than I am.
But we feel like it. We don't feel like tourists.
We travel more in Malaysia than we have our own countries, for sure.
Well,
No, honestly, we've like literally. There is still some places we still need to conquer and go to in Malaysia. We still want to see some parts of Malaysia, don't we?
Yeah,
we've never been to
we've never been to
Cameron
Cameron
Islands.
Islands. We've been everywhere else.
Okay.
It's very funny that, but everyone says to us, it's because
it's quite a trip though up there.
It is.
Can
It's
be,
up
yeah.
top of like Pahang, isn't it, next to Perak? But
You're always going to be caught in traffic, unfortunately, because it's always very, very.
damn.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I can say is good luck with the balik kampungs, because the trips up to
Up north,
Kelantan and Penang.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
They sound a lot, don't they?
I've been like not for Hari Raya Aidilfitri, but the other Hari Raya Korban. It took me like 14 hours driving from
That's crazy.
Shah Alam to Kelantan.
Right.
Is that your kampung? Is
No,
it?
I was with a friend, and she asked me to go with her because she was driving alone with the kids. So yeah,
Yeah,
14
balik
hours.
kampung. That's the
One way.
On repeat.
Yeah.
That's a sediment. Yeah, let's, you know.
And the kids in the back, are we there yet? Are we there yet?
We love this song actually.
We do love that song. That is a
Yeah.
classic. That's one of our favourites.
It's a very happy song.
Very nice.
Julia wants to say.
Oh, you want me to say?
Come on,
Sure,
say
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Tell
please,
us.
yeah, go ahead.
With Balik Kampung, happy hitting.
I
mean, I suppose if our audience do, come across Pat and Julia, definitely just say hi. Give them probably invite to your open house.
Please.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much, both Pat and Julia, for being here on Beyond the Headlines. We had such a delightful chat with the both of you. To our audience back home, don't go anywhere because later we will be sitting in with a national bowler, Tun Hakim. But first of all, I just want to say, we want to take a moment to hear some of the, comments from our audience out there in terms of how they're spending their festive season in unique ways. And when we return, we'll go into our last segment.
Hello everybody, I'm Alina Kamal here reporting from the bustling streets of Jalan Tunku Abdul Rahman, where we can evidently see that people are rushing to complete their last minute shopping. Now the energy here is very electric as shoppers are searching for their perfect Aidilfitri outfit. Now vendors are working overtime, shoppers are shopping overtime. Now let's hear what some have to say. Checks by the New Straits Times saw many visitors come to the area to secure essential accessories for their Eid attire, including songkok, buttons, pins and scarves. This last-minute shopping frenzy has transformed the street into a renowned hub for quick deals and enticing bargains.
Untuk jalan tan ni, maybe kita boleh cari dari segi sender macam dia kata tadi, songkok and benda-benda kecil, buta baju Melayu ke. So maybe kalau macam baju Melayu boleh cari dari, kalau macam saya lah, kalau selesa untuk cari dekat even mahal sikit tapi kualiti terjaga, macam tu lah. Tahun ni punya baju ke? Murah lah from last year.
Murah from last year. So baju raya tu beli sebab dah macam survey lama ke macam mana?
Nampak cantik terus beli. Sebab kalau survey nanti ni ada cantik, ni ada cantik. Okay. Price for this year agak pricey sebab ekonomi yang sekarang ni kan. So for us, too pricey lah juga sebab sometimes ada yang tak masuk akal juga, tapi based on material jugalah. Kalau okey lah, cantik dapat okey kan.
Sekejap lagi kita orang
Ada buku puasa lah kat tempat lain, kita orang tempat lain.
After this kita orang ke pavilion lah actually.
Sebab kita orang ada nak buka puasa, dah ada orang
just tak ada shopping lah, kita orang just macam nak top-up je.
Let's do a challenge. Let's see how many items we can find less than 100 ringgit here in Jalan Tar.
Several shoppers expressed mixed sentiments regarding the price of clothes this year, where they noticed a rise in costs have changed shopping habits. This have driven many to visit Jalan Tar for cheaper alternatives.
Welcome back, everybody, to the last segment of today's episode. Now we are still going to celebrate Raya, but here I have with me our very own sports senior reporter Fadli Isa. Welcome, Fadli, to Beyond the Headlines.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Where are you celebrating your Raya this year?
Raya probably half in KL and half in Kampung in Perak.
Oh, Kampung in Perak.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Perak?
In somewhere near Lumut.
Oh, okay. So, but then you're not going to go back on the first day or second day?
Maybe second day probably.
Yeah. I mean, I'm personally going to be Raya here, going to have my Raya here. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm probably going to enjoy the free traffic flow. So, anyway, for today, in this particular segment, I want to introduce Malaysia's very own Tun Hakim Tun Hasnul, a 25-year-old sensation who last year clinched the prestigious title of Hong Kong Open Champion in spectacular fashion. Now, Tun Hakim, welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Hi, thank you for having us.
And you're also joined here by your wife,
Yes.
Mas Hazikah Dr. Saifuddin.
Yes.
Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Very lovely couple.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
They just got married last month.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you invited?
Congratulations. The desk was invited.
Okay,
Yeah,
congratulations.
Thank you.
So where are you guys going to have your Raya, the celebration this year?
For the first week, maybe dekat sini dulu.
Oh, okay.
Then second dekat Perak juga.
Oh, Perak juga? Oh, okay. Perak. Anyway, so Tun Hakim, of course, this is my first time speaking to a national bowler.
Okay.
I mean, 25-year-old. I mean, and then also winning the particular title. How does that make you feel?
Well, it feels amazing because of all the hard work.
Right.
And then all the injuries, all the
like, I mean, since your win, what have you embarked on so far, especially?
Still keeping on training. Sebab once you dah reach to certain level, of course, still need to maintain that. Maintain that performance. So nak try to maintain that performance too is basically just not that easy lah.
And especially during Ramadan, right? How intense was the training for you? Do you pull back? How does a bowler actually train?
Okay, so we train every day except the weekends. So on Monday, Wednesday and Friday we have our gym session at MSN. So we're going to train in the morning 10 to 12, and then petang around 2 to 4 we have our gym session dekat MSN. So the training is still sama juga even before puasa ataupun
So Hakim, he's actually a very humble guy. He didn't tell you he's a former world champion from 2018. Hakim, do you still remember winning that title back in 2018?
Yes.
Maybe you can run us through the moments just before you won it and after you won it, what you felt like at the time.
First, that was my first world championship in 2018. So we have our selection before pergi world champ tu. And then I pun tak expect akan qualified for world championship. So once we reach there, and then of course we're going to try our best. We're going to fight for the world titles. It's not that easy because they have people from USA, from South Korea yang kira strong bowlers from Europe also.
Right.
So memang kita tak expect kita akan menang. So we just try our best. I communicate with my teammate. So basically the communication is very important lah. So and then after the first round qualifying tu, kita tak expect kita orang qualify for top 3. So top 3 tu orang akan kira main like step by the finals. Then after kira dah confirm dapat medal tu memang terkejut jugalah. Then tapi that time pun kita masih ingat lagi kita tak habis lagi during that journey. So after top 3 tu kita orang akan main untuk kira jadi ada 4 countries. So first match tu kita lawan dengan Canada, dan second tu kita lawan dengan USA. So during that time tu memang after habis memang speechless lah. Memang kira like a dream come true, because since dulu lagi kita orang nak, as a athlete kita orang mesti nak jadi world champion.
Right.
So basically macam dulu kita orang training kita orang akan cakap like, oh we always want to be a world champion. So once I reach to that level tu memang speechless, and tapi alhamdulillah.
But in terms of navigating through the teams, multinational teams and stuff like that. So how does that make you feel in terms of your training? How do you train to face up to people with different physique, people with different stature, their strength and everything?
Usually for bowlers, kebanyakan kita training on accuracy, macam target and then consistency. So nak maintain to the performance tu, basically just we keep on training. Even though dah menang pun still training lagi. Then performance wise, based on our gym pun kena, stamina pun kena kuat jugalah.
Right.
I was just speaking with Hakim before we came in the studio. He mentioned that reading the lanes is very important, and maybe Hakim, you can explain to our audience what oiling patterns are and how important it is to understand them.
So now the modern bowling, we have a few oiling patterns. So we have long, we have medium, we have short. So based on all the patterns, so it's different. They are the shape yang different shapes lah. So like basically next few weeks we have a tournament in Singapore.
Right.
So you're gonna bowl on long pattern. So they have the graph. So basically they can release it earlier before the tournament starts. So they're gonna send to us so we can train back home with the graph of the pattern. So pattern tu dia main peranan juga.
So basically what happens is when you throw the ball on the lane, the oiling pattern affects how your ball rolls on the and how it reacts.
Right. And when you do the oiling pattern of sorts, right? Is it like specific individuals je yang buat ke macam mana?
No, it's the lane, the manager,
organizer.
The organizer.
Do that because when we play bowling, it's always like for leisure, right?
Yeah.
So,
Leisure.
and then you're always like, is it my throw? I always masuk longkang and all that. But actually, oiling pattern is important as well. I see. I mean, professionals.
Yeah, it's actually a very technical sport, I mean, it looks simple, but it's actually very technical.
Right.
Very technical.
What about you, Mas? Do you play bowling as well? Do you bowl as well?
No. I've tried, but maybe it's not my
cup of tea.
Yeah, my cup of tea, no.
But how do you provide that support for your husband, especially when he's gearing up for big tournaments and stuff? Especially training as well.
Just let him do whatever he wants. Like I don't control him. We want to go like for extra training. Okay, I support. I follow. Sometimes if he wants to like have a training on weekend, then I just follow him and then okay lah. Sometimes during the game pun maybe some the game yang maybe like dekat ke ataupun like I can like ikut. Sometimes I follow tengok dia game juga.
So
like
you
for the
train
whole
on
week.
weekends. Like how much of your weekends are taken away from you to actually become a national athlete,
Sometimes,
pro athlete?
not every weekend. So let's say when we're preparing for championship coming up in next 2 weeks, so we full training.
Full training the whole week. I see. And this is your full-time gig, I suppose.
Yeah, full time.
Oh, okay.
Mas, what is it like to be married to a former world champion?
It's very challenging, guys.
What's the biggest challenge?
Because like the training schedules and then the back-to-back games. So sometimes like macam like until now we still don't have. I mean like I still don't have the date yang untuk for our honeymoon. Until now,
okay,
because back-to-back games every month we still ada game. So I don't know where to put, because maybe some months to maybe end of the month baru ada game. But then like if I, of course that time dia nak preparation lagi, dengan roll off lagi, selection apa benda semua. So for me like macam okay, I just wait until dia give me the date when for the honeymoon when.
When did you decide that this was a profession that you wanted to pursue on? Like this is that you want to do this full time and nothing else?
Uh,
And how important is to have a support system that's like very strong?
I think since I was young.
Okay.
So I started bowling when I was 5.
Oh.
Yeah, so almost 20 years now in bowling. Then I joined the national team when I was 15. Then before that I was state bowler. Because my parents pun bowler also. And my brothers pun semua, everyone plays bowling.
That played a big role in terms of inspiring you and motivating you to go into this line further lah. Right.
Yeah,
right.
family.
Would you get Mas to play bowling once?
Maybe if she likes it.
Maybe, I don't know. Because I'm more into like a sport that like macam banyak gerak. Like a badminton, because like before this I main taekwondo juga. So I'm more into like that aggressive punya, not like macam chill and then like focus. No.
How would you like to respond to that?
I have no idea.
Sports yang banyak gerak.
I mean, badminton. We play badminton also. As let's say on weekend kalau ada free time.
He also support like the hobbies that I like. Sometimes play badminton.
Amelina, you're not aware of something. Mas is actually an athlete as well.
Oh.
She represented Negeri Sembilan, was it, in Sukma in taekwondo.
Wow.
So she knows what it takes to be a top athlete and so. Alright. So can you just Mas, can you just tell us what it was like when you were a taekwondo athlete for university and also state level?
It's very tiring because during that time I'm still study and then focus on study and dengan sport lagi and then back to back game lagi, and dekat university pula banyak test. So it's very like more into discipline lah. You need to manage your time. I mean like nak ingat balik zaman tu, very like until now I still tak boleh nak ingat balik because it's very hard time lah for me that.
Right. But that's the thing about sports, right? People think it's just a leisure thing, but when when in fact it takes a lot of focus, and you have to know how to play your, I don't know, you schedule your time properly and then be disciplined about it. At least for you both, how do you juggle between personal life and your career pursuits?
Now since dah kahwin ni, kira timing tu dah boleh, I can adjust the timing lah, kira slowly lah. Slowly adapting to.
We just
So
besides being a former taekwondo athlete at state level, Mas, was also a sports technology R&D officer at the National Sports Institute.
Wow.
Can you just tell us what kind of projects you did with ISN in those days?
Okay, because that time I work in ISN as a sport technologist. So my project during that time, me and my team, kita orang buat like a big punching bag, and we put some like a magnet untuk kita check the force, the force of the punch tu. Maybe like some of the like that one sport technologies more into like macam things yang kita build untuk kita check dengan not check, it's like a team kita build untuk atlet lain juga. Maybe ada some of the project tu kita nak tengok speed, tengok force. So during my time I buat project about the macam nak calculate the punch. So we using a punching bag and then we put some like a magnet untuk kira the force.
Alright. So basically, when you punch, you know how much force you're applying to the punching bag. So that helps athletes to train and understand how much progress they've made or how much they need to improve and all that. Yeah.
A lot of project.
Yeah. Oh my god, no one wants to mess with you then. How you feel? Got a very strong wife there. Right.
Okay, can you just run us through what tournaments you're going to play in this year, what's coming up next, and maybe your hopes for this season?
Okay, for this year, our major is Asian Championships, maybe in Thailand this year, maybe end of the year. Okay, that's the biggest major we have this year.
So the next one for you in Singapore?
The next one,
is that right?
Singapore. We're going on the 17th of April.
Sorry, what's the name of that tournament?
It's Sonic International
Sonic,
Open. Yeah.
So you're feeling in good form for that tournament?
Hope so, because we still on training lagi.
Alright, okay.
I'm very curious now to see like what's the scene, the Malaysian bowling scene like. Is it just centered towards like the city centre atau you've got like across the board macam, because we know a lot about football, we know a lot about archery and things like that, but bowling is again if you do play it, it's more of like you need to be invited to a group, then you know about the scene.
At least for now, we have our development program for the youth, for the kids in school, so they can participate in MSSD, MSS Malaysian Daerah, and then state near tournaments. So if I'm not mistaken, we have youth programs for youth tournaments. So from that one, we can like encourage all the young people to participate in bowling.
And do you participate in the outreach programs? And how do you see people responding to it, especially the young ones?
Yes, nowadays is quite a lot of youth bowlers that's joining for the tournaments. So we like last time we have like junior circuits. So they're gonna be like in Pahang, in Perak, in Selangor, and then from that one they can select the team for the pelapis, is it pelapis for the national youth. But now pun kira dah ramai lah. There's a lot of bowlers joining in. Yeah.
Are there
so that's a good thing.
Right. But are there any like areas where you would like to see improved on to kind of support or like build the bowling
probably
career?
like league for the youth ones. Maybe create more tournaments for the youth ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, and for you.
But I remember covering like Sukma bowling. It's quite a lot of young bowlers we have across the country, even from East Malaysia. So you think what do you think of the current youngsters coming up, like the pelapis guys and all that? Anyone who's impressed you so far?
I mean, there's a lot of impressive bowlers out there. Even in our pelapis team, still have got a few bowlers that already won the World Youth Medal. So I guess it's very good for them and for the development program.
So what advice would you have for them, the younger guys coming up, want to be world champ like you?
Just keep on training, even though you have won few tournaments. Still have to improve yourself, and discipline wise is of course very important. Yeah.
What would you say is the best advice anyone has given you in for bowling?
In terms of bowling?
In terms of bowling. Any senior told you anything in the past?
Because like for me, I like to talk with overseas bowlers. So let's say when they have a coach from USA, a coach from Singapore, I like to have a conversation with them regarding on my bowling. So macam dorang pun akan bagi dia punya pendapat lah like that. And so the best advice I've received is like, as one wise person told me, that always keep your head up even though you like in whatever situation when you're down or struggling. Try to keep your head up and always make the best shot as possible. Yeah.
Have you had to deal with any sort of injuries?
A lot.
Okay. And how do you navigate through it, especially?
Of course, once that dapat injury ni is very hard. It's like to adapt that situation. So now in ISN we have rehab, we have physio, we have the doctors in ISN that help us through the injury. So yeah, usually we just go through physio and rehab.
And when you go through your, recovery period, right? What is how important is it for you to get back into the game back? And then because sometimes a lot of athletes, they just lose their momentum, and then it takes a while to rebuild balik. But for you yourself, like, is it hard?
Okay, last 2 years back, I have this one injury that's a lower back muscle tear. So that time the recovery it takes a while recovery.
Right.
And then that time pun ada one major coming up. So the recovery, usually we have our psychologists also that help us through the process. Just try to not to give up. A lot juga lah, usually for our mentality.
How often is the session with the psychologist for you guys? Is it once a week?
I think once a week. Once, so twice a week.
You sit down with the psychologist and discuss whatever went on.
Usually we can just text.
Oh, yeah, you can text her. Yeah. Okay, so basically on call all the time lah.
Physical recovery is just one, but also mental recovery is another thing.
Yes. Just to get back to our peak tu, dapat balik the rhythm.
Right.
Is very hard.
I want to understand your thoughts on this as well. Do you think Malaysia would be better if, let's say, bowling is treated not just as like an extracurricular activity, but more of like a proper sport? They actually feel like certain schools to go straight to the, let's say, like you mentioned, the youth programs, everything, because a lot of these access sometimes is just not visible unless ada minat from the students and everything. Do you think there should be more encouragement from the government to push it out across the board, especially in primary education ke?
I think it's already part of the MSSM program kan?
Right.
It's already there.
Okay. So but why aren't we having any sort of like visibility to this, especially? Because to me, honestly, as like a layman lah, I feel like bowling is like such a very fancy game. You get me? Only certain like suppose demographic is able to assess it, because you don't have a lot of facilities across the nation for this.
I guess dah banyak. There's a lot of bowling centres nowadays. And then for the youth program, even for schools, let's say we have the Coco, is it? They call Coco.
Curriculum.
So they have like a selection during schools to join in the youth tournaments, like Majlis Sukan Daerah. So daerah can move to Selangor, dan Selangor move to MSSM, Majlis Sukan Malaysia. And then from that one, they can select for the bowlers to participate in Sukma or state team. So I guess now kira okay lah for bowling sports.
There is some sort of like increase in activity lah, at least from this side. I see. Okay. You have any questions?
I was just speaking before we came in the studio. I spoke to Hakim about inflation and all that, how because a lot of their gear is imported, right? Their balls and their other
equipment.
So just talk us through, Hakim, how much is it that the price of like balls and that have increased since COVID ended?
Price of balls.
A lot.
Like the bowling balls are not cheap, no?
Yeah, I know.
Now like almost 1,100, almost like 1,000 plus for a bowling ball.
For a bowling
so
ball.
Last time it's only like 600, 500.
Yeah. So
for the high performance bowling ball. Yeah.
Before COVID, it was about 600.
Almost.
So, for the same thing. So due to inflation, it's
Yeah.
and they need Sorry, Hakim, how many balls do you bring in one tournament normally?
5 or 6 balls.
At least 5 or 6 balls.
Right.
Hakim, since you already won the world title, what else do you want to achieve in your career?
Okay. For bowling, we don't have Olympics in bowling. Sorry, we don't have bowling Olympics.
Yeah.
So of course, one day nak achieve that Olympic medal tu.
Okay.
So
hopefully bowling gets
adalah.
accepted to the Olympics.
Because now
like
the next
squash
one
ni.
is Commonwealth.
Right.
Commonwealth Games pun,
Mhm.
because previously they thought Malaysia's going to host, and then about the few issues, and then hopefully the next Commonwealth ada bowling. Because for me, like, I dah ada Asian Championship and then World Championship medalist. Yang tak ada just Olympic je. And Commonwealth. So hopefully if ada this one, boleh target lah.
Alright.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is the end of our episode. If you like this particular episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But once again, before that, I would like to thank my guests that's here on set, Fadli from the Sports Desk, and Hakim as well as Mas. Thank you so much for being on Beyond the Headlines, and of course have a I hope you are going to have a good Hari Raya celebration coming up, right? And again, to our audience back at home, if you haven't already, turn on the notification bell. You will also get the updates from Beyond the Headlines. Apart from that, any other updates from NSC Online. My name is Amalina Kamal. See you next week.